Welcome to the Wellness Abundance Podcast. I'm Melissa King, your podcast host, certified master health coach, certified personal trainer, and founder of Wellness Abundance Coaching. The purpose of this podcast is to share healthy lifestyle tips to empower you to design the abundant life you want and deserve. I'll chat with inspiring people who have built a strong foundation to build a life they love. I believe we all have the power within ourselves to create wellness abundance in all areas of our life. We simply need to find the courage within ourselves to take action. Our vision for this podcast is to help you create wellness abundance in your life with clarity, empowerment, and flexibility. Grab your favorite beverage and enjoy the episode. Welcome back to the Wellness Abundance Podcast. I'm so excited to have my guest here with me, Chloe Klaas.
Yes.
Do I pronounce? Okay, I did pronounce your last name right. I know
Yes,
we've
Klaas.
Klaas. Okay, that's what I thought, but I always, every time I say it now, for some reason, I'm like, is that right? Did I get it right? So,
Yeah.
is it French?
It's
It's
German and Dutch.
German and Dutch. Okay, all
Yeah.
right. Because I have heard before, because I have another friend, Chloe. And
Oh, I think the name
I think
Chloe is French.
I think the name Chloe's French because I think her mother is from France. She's French. So cool. Awesome. Cool. So welcome, Chloe. We'll just dive right in. So Chloe works with me, just a little bit of background. Chloe works with me here at Wellness Abundance Coaching. She helps me do some behind the scenes stuff, helps with some social media, and is really wanting to just learn the business of health and fitness coaching. She is already in the business, just so everyone knows, and so we're perfectly clear. She is a practicing fitness coach and personal trainer. So, but we work together, and we decided to start collaborating a couple months ago. So I'm super excited. So Chloe, just kind of share a little bit about yourself, about your journey, and wherever you want to start.
Okay. Well, it started, I guess, I competed dance my whole life, so I've always been super active. So kind of staying healthy has always been a part of my life in that way, always like getting movement in. And then, of course, COVID happened my senior year of high school, and there was no more dance, no more anything really. And I think a lot of people can speak from personal experience with this, but going from your high school sport or your college sport to then trying, and then that ends at a certain point and you try to figure out fitness and health outside of that. It's something that I struggled with a lot because I was like, I don't know how to work out. I don't know what to do. Like, and I want to stay active. I want to stay in shape. I want to feel good. And it's just, I was a little bit lost there, but I started getting into I signed up for my first gym membership after like during my senior year of high school, so about six or about a year after COVID happened. So in 2021 around March, I was like, I don't know how to work out, but I'll get a gym membership. And I started taking HIIT classes. So those classes really kind of sparked my interest in fitness specifically. I took those classes for about a year and I really loved them. And eventually the coach who was coaching me was like, you have awesome form. Would you ever be interested in teaching or
Mm.
becoming a personal trainer? And I was like, I'd love that. She really liked my energy. And I think the dance background really helped with the form of everything. I was really focused on being in tune with my body and my alignment. So I continue that in my work today as I teach Pilates and teach HIIT classes and also personal train. I think that form is so important. So that's kind of like the fitness end of things. Something that had kind of been in the background of all of that at the same time was since middle school, I've kind of always had a little bit of skin issues. And it was never severe, specifically in middle school and into high school, never anything like no cystic acne, nothing crazy. it kind of just bothered me. I was like, well, it's not bad, but it's still there. And I was a freshman in high school, so I was about 14, and I was like, I feel like I've tried everything. I'll try going on an antibiotic. So I started my first antibiotic at the end of freshman year of high school, and it didn't really do much. I was on it for about a year, so then I switched, and again, it didn't do anything drastic. It might have like controlled a little bit and helped in a very minuscule way. Nothing where I was like, okay, this is great, my skin's so much better, whatever. So, as I was on that second antibiotic, this is going into sophomore, junior year of high school. By junior year of high school, I went on birth control. So I was on birth control and I was on this antibiotic, and my skin, that nothing changed. Like in general, no, my skin just stayed the exact same. It was like, and it was always like kind of on the lower half of my face, definitely more hormonal acne and everything. So I did all of that, and I was on birth control for about a year and a half, stayed on the antibiotic throughout the entire process, stayed on the antibiotic. So this is now at the end of, yeah, at the end of high school. Sorry, I'm like, the timelines get so confused, but
Yeah, I know it all kind of blends together,
I know, I'm
especially
like,
after the pandemic.
I know, seriously. But at the end of high school, probably in July, summer after senior year, that's when I went off of birth control. I stayed on the antibiotic. But that summer I started seeing a holistic doctor. And I was like, I've always had this kind of issue with acne. I'm on this antibiotic. I've been on it for now 2, 3 years. Nothing's really ever changed. And she was like, we had like a whole consultation, 3 hours. It was very eye-opening. I think that she kind of showed me that what we put into our bodies is like super important, because her first step of advice was, okay, we're not going to get you off of that antibiotic cold turkey because your body is so used to it, but
Mhm.
I want you to just try cutting out gluten and dairy right now and see if that affects your skin, see if that helps you. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be extremely difficult because I've eaten gluten and dairy my entire life. I've never had any dietary restrictions, not allergic to anything. Like, I've never changed anything about my diet, because every time I asked my dermatologist, it was, no, that doesn't affect your skin. The food won't
Mm.
affect your skin. Like, that, there's no correlation. I'm like, okay, trusting that. Within a month of cutting out gluten and dairy, my skin was perfect, completely clear. Like, and it stayed this way. It was, and I was shocked. I was like, I could have been doing this the whole time and my skin would have been amazing, but I just didn't know. No one's telling you this information. Like, I had to specifically go to a different type of doctor to be able to find that information. No one was talking about it. Even my friends who also struggled with a little bit of acne, like, never related it to food or anything like that. It was just, it's very normalized. Like, and I think it's very
Mhm.
common. It's nothing that anyone should be ashamed about, but it shouldn't be necessarily normalized, because your body is showing you on the outside that you have an issue happening on the inside. And I think you should honor that and listen to that. And so that kind of started the whole journey. I had cut out gluten and dairy the rest of that year. My skin was beautiful, not even just clear of the acne, but physically like glowing from the inside. Like, it felt
Mm.
amazing. And I felt so confident. And even a lot of inflammation in my body went away. Like, I had been working out for a while at this time, but I noticed that my body just, it wasn't a weight change, but like the inflammation just was gone, because my body was clearly having a reaction to the gluten or the dairy or both. So fast forward, I moved to Arizona about 8 months later, and I'm eating gluten and dairy again because I'm eating at the dining hall, and I'm a freshman in college, and I'm just doing all, like, not taking care of like my body in the sense of food. I didn't have the resources, no kitchen, like I couldn't cook anything. I lived in a dorm. So I started eating gluten and dairy and went off of the antibiotic, just cold turkey, stopped taking it because I couldn't get my prescription filled because I moved.
Mm.
And slowly, like within like a month or two, I noticed that my acne was starting to come back. And then by the time I moved home for summer, my skin was the worst it had ever been. Like this was a new level of acne that I had never seen before. It wasn't just some, around my mouth or my jawline or here and there like I used to have. This was full cystic acne all over my face, forehead, cheeks, chin, everywhere. And it didn't really register in my mind because I had always dealt with acne. So I was like, it's not that big of a deal. Everyone has acne, like it'll go away. I'll just clean up my diet again, cut out gluten and dairy. Hopefully that makes a difference, which it did make a difference, me cutting it out again, but there was something else happening in my body and it was not being resolved. Like it was not going away. I ended up going back on the antibiotic because I was like, okay, I feel like I have to restart and kind of like now try to re-wean myself off of it. And so that was a whole thing, but I ended up getting a stool test and blood test, and that was like another layer of like eye-opening, like, oh my gosh, you can like figure out what's happening in your body that I had
Hmm.
no idea I could do until this same doctor had like told me about it. So I take those tests. I have super severe bacterial overgrowth in my gut because
Hmm.
of being on antibiotics for so long. So I had been on antibiotics at this point for almost 5 years straight. And that completely like stripped my gut of all good bacteria, all bad bacteria and good bacteria. So there was just nothing in there. So as soon as I went off and I wasn't eating the right things, the only thing my gut could do with the things I was feeding it was blossom this bad bacteria because it had nothing, there was no base in my gut. It was just like completely wiped clean. So I had super severe Klebsiella overgrowth, and the main treatment for Klebsiella is Accutane. That's like number one. And I'm
Mm.
like, if a medication did this to me in the first place, I'm not gonna add another one on top
Yeah.
and then have it be even more extreme because with Accutane now you have to be on birth control. It's like it can be harsh to your reproductive system. Everyone's different. Everyone has a different reaction, but these were things that I was really taking into consideration. And then I did not want to go on birth control again. I had a really hard time on it. I had really severe, like, emotional challenges. Like, I was sad all of the time. Like, I was very
Mm.
irritable, angry. My body was super inflamed. I, the brain fog is like one of the main things that I always talk about with birth control because I felt like for a year I was unable to think clearly, like problem solving in school, like anything. It was super hard for me, and I didn't understand why because it was like night and day. But again, this is something that isn't talked about when we're getting prescribed birth control or these medications. The effects, like there's a reason the side effect page is like so big.
Yeah.
You're like stretching it to the floor
Uh-huh.
and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, it's normal. Like, that's just birth control, you know? So, but anyway, so I had this bacterial overgrowth. I took a blood test. I had a little bit of hormonal imbalance from the birth control. From the beginning, even before I took these tests, my homeopathic doctor had done a full exam on me and had mentioned that I had some liver issues. My liver wasn't like cleansing correctly, which is a very common side effect of birth control as well. So that was another part of the reason my skin kind of was flaring because when your liver can't detoxify your body, your skin's your biggest organ. So it just
Hmm.
comes out through your skin. So that was another layer to everything that was happening. But so first thing I did when I found out about this bacterial overgrowth was cleaned up my diet again, no gluten, no dairy. And when I took that test, I had to go off the antibiotic for 2 weeks. And after that, I was like, I'm just not going back on it again. Like, I'm not doing this on and off, on and off. Like, it takes
Mm.
your body 3 months to get used to the antibiotic anyway. And I just don't want to do it anymore. So I completely stopped. And I was like, I want to do this 100% naturally. Like, I'm going to do this through food. I'm going to do this through the supplements that my doctor had suggested to me. that are able to target the bacteria, but without killing the good bacteria because we need that in our gut. So I completely healed my skin about 70 to 80% just with food. So like my skin today is just food and the correct supplements and changing that and probiotics and things like that. And my skin went from 5 doctors telling me the only solution was Accutane and me not agreeing to that and just eating right and fueling my body with the things that made it feel good. And the results were obvious in my skin. My gut, a lot of people have gut health issues where it affects them
Mm-hmm.
physically, like in their body. For me, it was a blessing and a curse that it was my skin because I could physically see what was happening inside me. And I mean, it's difficult. The confidence aspect of everything was a whole nother challenge. I mean, everyone sees you and you can't help what's happening on your face. Like it doesn't change overnight. It's been now a year. Yeah, I think it just officially hit a year since I've been off those antibiotics. So everything has been through food and supplements, and I've now recently gone to a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, which is a first for me.
Oh, that's
And
cool.
this was mostly for because like I said, I have that like liver issue and everything. So I still deal with a little bit of acne, specifically like around my chin and things like that. So I've gotten many stool tests since then, and everything has come back. Like my gut is very balanced. So I was like, okay, that was the biggest step. Like that was what was affecting my skin 80% was this issue in my gut. But now that that's resolved, let me heal my liver and everything that from the birth control has been not able to like flush things out correctly. And that's been an issue for a while. Like I learned that in my first meeting with my other doctor freshman year of college, and now I'm a junior in college. Now I'm doing that, and it's like another just eye opener, like the effect of just herbs and like things that we have in the food. Like it just shows you that these things can help us in ways that aren't you don't if you don't feel comfortable taking the path of pharmaceuticals, like it's not the only thing, and you don't have to feel
Mm-hmm.
discouraged by that because I did a lot and I was like really struggling with I want my skin to be better, but do I have to sacrifice other health issues for that? Like, do I have to be on this medication forever? Do I have to go on Accutane? And usually with Accutane, it's more than one time. It's 3, 4, 5. I know people have been on it 8 times. And I was like, this is something I don't want to struggle with. I don't want to put a band-aid over the issue. I want to find the root of the issue and like really solve it from within. So that's kind of a very long, very long, but also short explanation of everything that's happened through the past 5 years with my skin and everything like that. But
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing all that, Chloe, and for just being vulnerable and totally transparent. So there's a lot that I want to kind of learn a little bit more about based on your
yeah,
story. But I just want to also, I want to acknowledge you, first of all, for really just being an advocate for yourself and your health. Because these days, pharmaceutical companies are just really pushing all these drugs.
yes,
And to be fair to conventional medicine doctors, like they actually don't get a lot of education in
yeah,
medical school. And I know this. Same thing with nurses. I know this because I actually talked to through the health coaching school I do student support for. I actually talk to like MDs and nurses, and they tell us at the coaching school I work at, like, we don't get a lot of training on nutrition. We don't get a lot of training on supplements and how to heal the body naturally. We get training on prescribe this drug and prescribe that drug, and don't worry about the side effects, or you're going to take this drug and it's going to have these side effects like depression, anxiety, those feelings of sadness, brain fog. But we're going to give you this other drug, this antidepressant, to help kind of cancel that out. And it's just like, I'm just taking all these drugs. It's like, what's the point now? I just want to be perfectly clear, and I'm sure Chloe, this is you too. Like, we're not advocating you to just not to follow your doctor's advice. If
Yeah.
you feel like you want to try it and take the drug, go for it. Try
Yeah.
it out, see how it works for you. I've done that before in the past. Um, but honestly, antibiotics can really just ruin your gut.
Yeah.
Just
I,
really.
yeah, that's since I've done research after being on it. I mean, I'm not doing research as a freshman in high school. I don't know. My friends are on it. I'm like, okay, whatever. But virtually every antibiotic is going to deplete your gut of good and bad bacteria because that's what it's meant to do. It works for what it's meant to do. It does clear the bacteria out, and there's definitely a time and place for antibiotics. There's times when we're sick, we need to take those antibiotics. Like, I think there's a time and a place for all of that, but because because me and I'm sure you have to have had personal experiences trying those drugs, like you said, like, and then seeing how that makes you feel and then trying to do it the natural way and the difference in your body is night and day. And you can still heal what you need to heal, but in a way that doesn't destroy the other parts of your body, if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah.
Not a clear way to say that, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally understand what you're saying. Yeah. And also, so if you do need to take antibiotics, say you get, an infection, like a sinus infection, and it's just kind of like a one off. You don't normally get sinus infections and antibiotics or steroids. I actually have a health coach friend who she was so sick like 3 or 4 months ago that she just like could not get rid of this cough and whatever
Yeah.
respiratory thing she had going on through natural ways. And she tried all the different ways and she finally was like, I'm just going to go get a steroid. And she got a steroid and it cleared it all up. And she was like, that was like a last resort. But there are things that you could do, like for that instance, if you have, if you're kind of like, this is the only way I'm going to get better, then there are things you could do afterwards to really,
Yeah.
start healing the gut and mitigate any further damage. Taking probiotics is a great
Yeah,
one
exactly. I love that you
to
mentioned
do.
that because, yeah, I really love that you mentioned that because I think, as we're both saying, like, there's a time when you probably will need to take that antibiotic. Like, everyone gets sick sometimes, and sometimes it's just really hard for your body to fight off on its own or naturally. But if you can support yourself, like, before and after that by feeding your gut the things that it likes and probiotics, like you said, things like that. Like it's going to make a world of a difference because you're not going to suffer the side effects from doing the antibiotics or the steroid. There might be a little bit of imbalance, but you can bring it back to, a good gut flora, which is affecting
Hmm.
your brain and your skin. I mean, everything is in your gut, your hormones, your mood, like everything. I mean,
Yep.
there's a lot of
Yeah, there's more and more research coming out these days that the gut is, in a way, your second brain.
It is.
So, and it could be also even 10, 20, 30 years down the road, we find that, there's even more hard evidence that you take care of your gut first and everything else will fall into place. Mental health issues, hormone balances, like with women, I work primarily with women and I talk to a lot of women who have been on birth control because they're like, I'm not ready to have a baby, but then they get off birth control when they're ready to have a baby. And before they know it, they have PCOS or other infertility issues. And their hormones are just out of whack and they have weight gain, unexplained weight gain. And it just kind of wreaks havoc. It's just kind of like a catch 22
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
And it could mess up your own skin. And also, I had really bad acne when I was in junior high and high school and into adulthood, well into my 30s. Now,
Wow.
I'm in my 40s now, and I occasionally will get blemishes, but I also feel like I don't eat dairy anymore. I eat butter occasionally, but I feel like, and I don't eat a lot of gluten, but I feel like when I do eat the gluten, that could be why I kind of get a blemish here and there. Thankfully, I have it really under control because of me just really focusing on a whole food eating style really just made a big difference with my skin. Once I got into my 30s, I was like, that's it. This is what I'm doing. And then I did it for weight loss, and then it kind of evolved. And then I just saw my anxiety go down and my skin clear up, and then also swapping out toxins in beauty products that have toxins in it, which we won't get into right now. Maybe we could do another
I'm like,
episode
that's a
later
whole
on.
other episode.
That's a whole nother episode that we should actually put that on the calendar to have a conversation about. But yeah, so it's yeah, it's so I get it, and it caused then like for me like the poor skin, my skin. I was teased a lot, even like I was known in my 20s as a working professional in insurance, the woman with the acne. That's how clients would describe me if they could not remember my name. These are adults. And I was mortified. I was like, oh my gosh, this is how people refer to me. And it was just, yeah. So, anyways, but back to your story. I'd like, if you're okay with, to kind of dive into how you eliminated gluten and dairy because that's hard for a
Yeah.
lot of people. It's everywhere. And as for me, as a health coach, that's my main role as with my clients is to help them, if they do need to eliminate gluten for whatever reason, like how do they help them implement habits to help them do that? So what steps did you take to do that?
Initially, it was kind of, I would say I ate more dairy than gluten, first of all. So I was having dairy probably breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I had, well, definitely lunch and dinner because I would have like a salad with cheese in it or pasta for dinner, or not, I guess not really pasta because that was gluten too. But I would just always have cheese. Like I loved cheese. When my doctor first told
Mm-hmm.
me to cut out gluten and dairy, I was like, how can I not eat cheese? Like this is going to be super difficult. But one thing I will say, which this is kind of depends on the person. So different people can have different reactions to this. My doctor did tell me that I could try just having goat's dairy. So goat cheese and
Mm-hmm.
goat yogurt, goat milk. And at first, I didn't do that. So for the first month, I just did no gluten, no dairy. And I'd say it's kind of just something that you can find alternatives like gluten-free toast, because I would have toast every morning, like avocado toast with an egg. So I just switched that out for gluten-free toast, which definitely be mindful of what's in things that are
Mm-hmm.
gluten-free or dairy-free, sugar-free, things like that. Now I'm very mindful about ingredients. So, but yeah, gluten-free toast is definitely a great option. There are places that have really good ones. So that was a good replacement for me. Just kind of finding substitutes like rice cakes were another thing for me that I ended up like loving to use as my breakfast, like avocado on a rice cake with my eggs. And then
Mm-hmm.
which isn't the most nutrient dense food, but when you're trying to transition, you don't always have to like focus on one thing at a time. If you need to cut out gluten,
Mm-hmm.
like do what you need to do to cut out gluten and work out the kinks later. Like the things that you're like, oh, well, maybe this isn't the most like nutrient dense. Okay, well, if you don't think you need to have the rice cakes anymore, then just have half an apple as your carb or some veggies or quinoa in like a quinoa egg bowl or something. You know what I mean? Like the things will come later down the line, but I would say substituting rather than just cutting everything out like cold turkey is a much easier way to transition into eliminating those foods. So, yeah, anything that you can use like gluten-free to substitute. I loved using brown rice pasta or chickpea pasta. They have like the Bonza protein pasta. I know I've had that a couple times. That was a good replacement, definitely in the beginning. But to be honest, eventually your body just doesn't crave it anymore. My body definitely was like, I didn't even want really the replacements because when I just ate super clean, like veggies and protein and like healthy fats, like avocado and like sunflower seed butter, peanut butter, whatever personal preference, but your body just doesn't end up craving those things that made you inflamed because it's used to this. I don't even know how to explain it. It's used to feeling good. It doesn't want, it's not telling you
Yep.
like, oh, you really want like that gluten again. Like you need it. Like it initially it's hard because I think our body becomes kind of addicted to things like gluten or refined sugar or things like that. But yeah, just transitioning, kind of substituting out things. And the cheese, I will say, that's harder. There's
Hmm.
free cheeses, which I did use like dairy-free cheeses in the beginning, and then goat cheese, if that doesn't bother you as much, has less like lactose and everything in it. So, but yeah, replace in the beginning because it's going to be super difficult to go from 0 to 100. So just find substitutes for everything. And then if that works for you, then you can totally stick with the substitutes. But if you want to take it even further, you can just, now I don't eat gluten or dairy or refined sugar, and I don't miss it either. Like there are certain times when I'll have something at a family event. And this isn't to say that this is like you have to, be so hard on yourself when you're on vacation or you're at a family party. Like that is going to give you anxiety because I have had that anxiety where it's like, oh my gosh, I'm hungry. There's nothing to eat here. And I feel like I can't enjoy myself. It's like a charcuterie board and I can't have any. And oh my gosh, like this is so stressful. Like, give yourself some grace. You can have, like if at the end of the day, like your body responds the best to things that make you feel happy. And if you can just be present in that moment and you have a little bit, like you'll learn the things about yourself, what you need to do the day following that to make you feel better. If that's drinking more water and eating more veggies the next day, like if that helps your body, like you'll get in tune with that, but don't be too hard on yourself when it comes to events and vacation because those are all things that we should enjoy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I agree with you 100% on that. And I get asked that a lot with my clients, like, how do I go on vacation or how do I navigate a wedding? How do I do this?
Mhm.
Or, you know, because I'm not 100%
Yeah.
gluten free, or I do, like I said, I do eat butter, but
Yeah.
one big thing with me with dairy is any milk in cookies or any cheese, I get really bad digestive issues so for me personally, it's not worth the pain.
Yeah.
Butter doesn't do it, which is very strange to me. I think it's the way butter is processed.
Yeah. A lot of
That's
people can have butter and oddly enough, like heavy whipping cream because
mm,
there's much less lactose in things
hmm.
like that. So yeah.
Yeah, and there is a lactose-free cream cheese that my husband buys that I can have a little bit of occasionally, and it does not upset my stomach at all. Like I feel good after I eat it. But yeah, but in regards to the gluten, I'm the same way. I'm like, just go have fun, you
Yeah.
know,
And
go enjoy your vacation.
there's nothing that you, unless you are allergic to something, there's nothing you quote can't have. Like
Right.
you can have it. I could eat gluten and dairy every single day if I wanted to. It's just the choice is the choice is yours. The choice, if it affects your body, like that's a choice you're making. Like you know how you're gonna feel. And sometimes I'm willing to have a stomach ache or get a few blemishes
Yeah.
because I want to have fun at my cousin's wedding or I'm at on vacation and it's just, and you can do much more than you think you can because it's hard to navigate events like that. And sometimes there really is nothing, but sometimes there is. And sometimes you can have the food that is provided to you at an event, ordering at a restaurant, like just order something that you can have. There now, especially, there's so many gluten and dairy-free options. Like you get a nice clean salad with chicken and, like there's just much more that you can do, but it's really hard to see that before you begin. Before I began, I
Yeah.
was, what am I going to do when I go to dinner? What am I going to do when I do this? And as I kept going, you just you figure it out and it all works out.
Yeah, exactly. You figure it out. And that's where also, working with a coach can help you and a professional in this industry and someone who has like been through it themselves.
Yes, for sure.
We are trained professionals in this industry, and so we know how to, support our clients. And you and I have both been through this
Hmm.
ourselves personally. I mean, I started eating gluten free, mostly gluten free, back in 2012, and there weren't a lot of really
Yeah.
good options. This
Way
was
more
12,
difficult. Back.
yeah, this was 12 years ago, and it was really difficult
Yeah.
to do it. So, but yeah, there is a way to do it, and as long as sometimes the most of the time the anxiety of thinking, oh my God, I can't eat this on vacation, or oh my God, I'm going to be totally derailed
Yeah.
when I go on vacation, like the anxiety over that is probably going to be worse for
It is.
your, not just your mental health, but your physical health.
Yeah.
Um, and you mentioned also that, your body just doesn't really crave it anymore. And a lot of that is because before, when you're eating, when you're really dependent on these super high carby foods, especially like the processed foods, like the bread, your body continues to crave it. It
Hmm.
wants it. But then once you kind of slowly eliminate it, your body realizes, you know what? I don't need this anymore. I'm
Yep.
good. And that's all because your hormones were like this
Yeah.
and this and this and this throughout the day. And then your hormones kind of even out and your body gets back into what's called a homeostasis. So it's like, we're good. I'm good. I'm happy. I don't need anything else. Just give me some nutrient dense food
Yeah.
and I'll be good. Because
Yeah.
sometimes people don't realize how bad they feel eating all the breads and all the pastas until they stop eating it for several weeks, and then they eat it again and they're like, whoa, okay, now I get it. Now I get this whole let's eat whole foods
Yeah.
movement.
People, it's the way that they feel every day is horrible. And they don't realize that it's horrible until they don't feel horrible anymore. But
Yeah.
realize, how have I lived every single day feeling like this, feeling tired, feeling bloated, feeling just run down and digestive issues. I mean, pretty much everyone I know has digestive issues. It's
Mm-hmm.
becoming, it's everybody deals with something, especially here in this country, and just kind of with all of the things that are in our food now, the processing, just all of those things. I think it's rare to find someone who's in perfect gut health, unfortunately. But there are ways
Yeah.
to fix that, which is the best part about it. Like, eat clean and make your body feel good and support your gut health, and it'll affect the rest of your life.
Exactly. It's so interesting because it's so simple,
Yeah.
and but it's not always easy to do.
And it's difficult because I know so many people that have a struggle with it because of money. It's hard to buy
Mm,
healthy things. It's more expensive, and you would think it wouldn't be that way. Why is it cheaper to buy this thing that's been processed 50 times versus something that you just grabbed from a tree, for example? Like, it's just, there's those issues
yeah.
but it is doable. Like, I think that people a lot of times automatically think like, oh, I can't afford to eat healthy, but the amount of podcasts and people I've listened to that is like, this is how to eat healthy on a budget, and it's cheaper than,
Hmm.
the normal groceries that people are buying. It's like, it is 100% doable, but not if you don't look, and not if you don't do the
Right.
work and find it. But anything is achievable, and it can always work inside a budget if that's, necessary.
Yeah, and it's all about just kind of starting out, like maybe like we talked about before, just making like some simple swaps,
Yes. Yeah.
and that will kind of help ease you into not only like your mindset and but also like your pocketbook, your
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah.
Just slowly kind of making these swaps and slowly eliminate the highly processed foods and
Yes.
replace them with whole foods. And then before you know it, you'll be able to you'll be able to be like, you know what? I'm actually saving money because also if you're on medication
Mhm.
right now, will you be able to get off that medication?
Mhm.
So you could save money there if
Yeah.
you're paying for medication. Oh, and you're going to feel more satiated too after a meal.
Yes.
Rather, so you're not going to have to eat you're not going to feel tempted to eat an entire bag of potato chips because does that fill you up?
Mm-mm.
You could probably eat an entire bag of potato chips
And still eat
in
dinner.
one sitting, and then
Yeah.
exactly, and
Yeah, I
then
talk about
but
this with this exact conversation with my roommate. She's like, I could eat an entire family size bag of chips and still be able to eat my whole dinner and like dessert and everything because it doesn't satisfy
yeah,
you. Whereas, what if you bought, I know this is a common comparison, but buy a bag of carrots instead and you'll have two large carrots and be so full, like versus a whole bag of potato chips and you're like, oh, it's like I didn't even eat anything.
yeah,
But yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and just start throwing in some healthier proteins,
yeah,
like some fish, chicken. In these days, like I usually just go to
every
Trader Joe's and get like the pre-cooked
yeah,
chicken and I'll chop it up, put it on my salad. That'll last me 2, 3 days. And throw an avocado on there, throw some olive oil.
yeah,
Olive oil and balsamic are that's my go-to dressing these days
yeah,
because it's inexpensive to buy like a big bottle of olive oil and then a big bottle of balsamic.
yeah,
That'll last me at least a month, if
yep,
not probably a couple months, because I don't eat salads every day, but just there are ways around it to where you can get the healthier proteins and healthier fats to really help you feel satiated. They're more calorically dense.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Um this is where like macros definitely come into play, like having the protein, fat, and carb like at every meal and the correct balance of each one. I've noticed such a difference in my energy levels and even physically, like my body, my energy levels, like my my appetite, like feeling full is just prioritizing protein at every meal. Like
Mm-hmm.
having chicken sausage in the morning and then having steak or chicken on my salad at lunch and then having like some type of like homemade steak chili or something for dinner. That's like kind of a day of eating for me. But when I specifically at breakfast, when I started putting protein in my breakfast versus just having like a carb and a fat without the protein, night and day difference. And I
Yeah.
feel so much better throughout my day. Like energy is through the roof.
Same here. I feel the same way. Cool. Is there anything else you'd like to add or
I don't
share? Or...
think so. I think just kind of remembering what I tell most of my friends or family or people who ask me about health things is give yourself grace. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard, but it can be hard at times, but it's not something that you have to be hard on yourself for. Like everyone has their own journey, and if you're focusing on just eating clean and fueling your body, like you are gonna notice a difference. Like extreme or not, like making those small changes, like you will notice a difference. So don't think it's all or nothing. You can make small changes and still see results. And also remember to be disciplined. I think that at the end of the day, it's your mind that's gonna tell you whether you want to do it or not, and you have to make the choice for yourself.
Definitely. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And you're in control too, and you have more control and just learn how to advocate for yourself with your medical team, and have a team of professionals too. Like you have your
Yes.
holistic doctor and you have your Chinese medicine doctor.
Get a good team going for sure because
Yeah.
that helps me so much. I had the holistic doctor. I also have a dietitian
Mhm.
who I am in contact with, and she helps me with a lot. Also, a doctor. I also have a doctor. She's holistic, but also like pharmaceutical. Like she can do both.
Mhm.
She has a a more natural focus, but she can prescribe and she's a doctor and everything, and then the Chinese medicine doctor. But as many people as you can talk to, like the better, because you'll hear information and you'll gain a lot of new information, but you'll also hear information being repeated. And I think that's something that's super important, because the more that you hear something, the more you're like, okay, like this really does affect you. Like if so many people are talking about this, like it motivates you more to want to make that change. So having a good
Hmm.
team of people around you, listen to podcasts, read books, like do your own research.
And if you do your own research, if you don't want to, just find someone,
Yeah.
like Chloe or myself, who I love to do research on,
Yes.
women's hormones and gut health
Yes,
and
and
everything. Just
you have so much information to give, and it's like you help so many people. I think that
oh, thank you.
it's super important, and you just have so much knowledge. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. It's because I feel like, you know, I, I geek out on this stuff
I know,
and
that's
I
how
love
I
learning about it.
feel.
And you do the same thing. I think that's why you and I make such a great team, is because
Yeah.
we both love doing the research. So that's also, I'm a big advocate for people, especially women, doing their own research. But if it's not really your thing, you don't want to do research, you just don't have the bandwidth because of everything happening in your life, then connect with an expert.
100%.
Awesome. Well, I have one more question for you that
Yeah.
I ask all my guests on the podcast.
Okay.
What do you think of when you hear the words wellness abundance?
When I think of wellness abundance, I think of health in the sense of not only physically, but mentally, and making it a lifestyle versus just a trend or a diet trend you can
Mm,
hop on. This is like a lifestyle change that'll also bring you happiness and abundance. So that's what I think of.
yes, yes. Cool. Love that answer. Love it. So, all right, Chloe, thanks so much for joining us.
So much
And
for having me. Thank you.
yeah, you bet. And reach out to me if you want to connect with Chloe and work with her on a personal training level. So she's amazing. And yeah, so just reach out to us, and I'll make sure there's contact info in the show notes. And yeah, all right. Thanks, Chloe.
Thank you.
The Wellness Abundance podcast is sponsored by Wellness Abundance Coaching. At Wellness Abundance Coaching, we help women lose weight effortlessly and minimize anxiety with clarity, empowerment, and flexibility. We offer one-on-one and group health coaching, corporate wellness programs, and on-demand fitness videos. To learn more about how we can help you become the healthiest version of yourself and to schedule a time to chat with us, visit melissaking.net.